Hello everyone, welcome to GoVMlab NSX-T for Beginners lecture series. In previous lecture, we have walked you through NSXT Manager UI, and we have also walked you through overview dashboard of NSXT Manager, where we can get a very brief summary of our networking, security, inventory, and system specific components on that overview dashboard of our NSX Manager. In this particular lecture, we are going to discuss about networking specific dashboard of our NSXT Manager UI, and we'll see that what all the services, network specific services can be configured and managed using networking dashboard of our NSX Manager UI. So with that, let's get started. As you could see that this is our NSXT Manager UI, and let's log into NSX Manager UI with the admin account. So click here to log in. And as you do see that we are successfully logged into our NSXT Manager UI. Now I'm personally fan of this dark theme, but if you want to change the theme from dark to light, just click on that sun icon and you will see that the UI will change from dark theme to lighter theme. So let's go back to the dark theme because I personally like the dark theme of NSXT Manager UI interface. Now, as we discussed in this lecture, we will be focusing on networking specific dashboard of our NSXT UI, and we'll see that what all the networking capabilities is actually provided by NSXT solution. So with that, let's get started. So as you could see that this is our networking section, click on networking. And as you do see that on the left side, we have a bunch of networking options available, which actually provided by NSXT product. So let's go and understand every single option step by step. So as you could see that the first option what we have it is network overview. This network overview will give you the overview information about our entire networking specific components. So as you do see that it gives you a very brief summary of the entire networking components and configurations on this single dashboard. So if you do see that the first option what we have it is a configuration. So this dashboard gives us networking specific configuration information. Like for example, the first section is all about networking. As you could see that as of now there is only one tier 0 gateway is configured and there is no tier 1 gateway has been configured because the count of tier 1 gateway is 0, and total we have a 3 segments created on that NSX infrastructure. Now, as you do see that on the right side, we have a IP address management. So this dashboard gives us information very specific to IP address management, and your DNS configurations, DHCP configurations, and IP pools fall into IP address management. And this clearly tells us that we have created one IP pool as of now. The next section, what we have it is very specific to network services. Network services, like as you do see that VPN services, Evpn services, Nat rules, load balancer, and forwarding policies. And as you do see that all the counters for these network services is 0, which means that as of now, there is no VPN, Evpn, Nat rules have been configured so far on our NSX infrastructure. Now click here to scroll down. Now, as you do see that the next section give us information about tier 0 gateways. So as you do see that that's a tier 0 gateway, and we have deployed one tier 0 gateway so far, and it gives us information about that tier 0 gateway, the BGP configuration, what are the BGP configurations are configured so far. So as you could see that the BGP is enabled and the peer is configured on that tier 0 gateway. The next what we have it is a tier 1 gateway statistics. So it gives us information about tier 1 gateway, and as of now we have not configured any tier 1 gateway. That's the reason we don't see any tier 1 gateway specific statistics on this networking dashboard for tier 1 gateways. Click here to scroll down. Now the next section what we have it is segments. So it gives us a more elaborative information about segments, that what all the segments we have created and what all the segments VMs are connected to. As you could see that it says that there's a one segment which is not connected to or any of the gateways, and it says that there are two VMs connected to the segments and there is a one VM which is not connected to the segment. Now, if you want to get into that information, what exactly VMs are connected to it, so just click on that icon. And once you click on that icon, it directly takes you to that segment specific sections, and it tells us that there are two segments, app ls and web ls have been created to which VMs are connected. Let's go back to our overview dashboard once again. Let's scroll down, and it tells us that there is a one segment to which VMs are not connected. What is that segment? Again, you just click on that particular bar and it takes you to the segment section and giving you information that there is a segment name as T0 uplink 1 doesn't have any connected to the gateway, and there are no VMs connected to it. So as you could see, that not connected to VMs because this segment does not have any VMs connected to it. So that's a very good elaborative information. You can get it from this particular dashboard itself, and it navigates you to those respective components. Now they scroll down a little further, and as you do see that we have a section for VPN. As of now, as you do see that there is no VPN has been configured. That's the reason we don't have any layer 2 policy based and route based VPN statistics updated. And the next section what we have it is a load balancer. Since there is no load balancer has been configured, as you rightly see it here, that's the reason we don't see any statistics for the load balancer. But as you could see that the network overview dashboard of NSXT UI itself gives us a very good information about our networking components and configurations right there from a single wizard. The next what we have it is a capacity. So that's again giving a information about what is the maximum number of T1 gateways we can create or the segments we can create it on this particular NSX solution. So as you could see that the first section talks about the limit. What is the limit about that component? So the first what we have it is segments. So let's understand that for the segment currently the current infrastructure is having a three segments are created. The maximum capacity of creating a segment is 10,000, which means that you can create 10,000 maximum segments on this NSX solution. The minimum capacity threshold is 70%. So as when you reach out to 7,000 segments, it will give you a capacity threshold, and the maximum capacity threshold is 100%, which is pretty obvious. Similarly, if you do see that the tier 1 gateways, the maximum tier 1 gateways you can create it is 4,000. If you look at the tier 0 gateways, the maximum tier 0 gateways user can create it is 160. And similarly, if you scroll down, you will get to know about all the maximum threshold or maximum capacity of NSX components. Now, the next option what we have it is network topology. This is again a very interesting component as you do see that network topology, and look at that. This network topology, it actually draws down your entire NSX infrastructure and it gives you the networking configuration in a much more pictorial way, which makes a pretty easy to understand our networking layout. So if you do see that this network topology section has drawn down our networking configuration and it has given us that pictorial representation. And what do I learn out of it? What do I understand out of it? That there is a one tier 0 gateway which has been deployed, and there are two segments. As you do see that these two segments are connected to this tier 0 gateway, and there is a one segment which is not connected to tier 0 gateway. And we do see that from this segment there are two VMs connected to it, but from this segment there is only one VM connected to it. Now it's a pretty easy to understand that NSX layout configuration with this network topology. Now, as of now, it does not give us information that what is that segment, what are those VMs which are connected to it. So there is an option called zoom out, zoom out. So if you do see that there is an option called zoom out, just click it here and look at that. It gives you a much more detailed information about that topology. So if you go and try to decode that particular diagram, you do see that there is a segment created which is named as WebLS and AppLS, and the gateway IP is 172.16.10.1, which is a 10.x network is for web segment, and the 20.x network as you do see it for the app segment. And now that is the segment which is not connected to tier 0 gateway is our uplink T0 uplink 1 segment. Now if you click at the VM, if you click on that VM, you do see that it actually go and gives us information about that VM. So you do see that web 01 and web 02, these are the two VMs which are connected to web logical segment. Whereas if we go and expand this particular VM section, and we do see that there is an app VM which is connected to app LS segment. And now if you scroll up little bit, if you zoom in little bit, you will see that it's again collapsed back to the previous state. So now it's pretty easy to go and decode that entire networking layout with the help of this topology diagram, and it really helps us to visualize our entire networking configuration in a much more simplified way. So network topology is one of the very useful feature of NSXT dashboard. Now, the next section you do see that is the connectivity section. So this connectivity section talks about all those components which help us to connect our workloads. And that's where we have the first component is called tier 0 gateways. Now, as you do see that, we have deployed one tier 0 gateway with the name as T0GW01. That's a tier 0 gateway name. This tier 0 gateway is deployed in HA mode. It is not connected or linked to any tier 1 gateways. And the segments which are connected to this tier 0 gateway is there are two segments which are connected to tier 0 gateways. And we know that what are those segments, web ls and app ls. Then the next what we have it tells about the state of that gateway. And as you do see that we have successfully created our tier 0 gateway. So that's a tier 0 gateway dashboard. If you want to create a new tier 0 gateway, it's pretty straightforward. Click on that add gateway, click on tier 0, give us all the required configuration parameters for tier 0 gateway, and your gateway will be created successfully. Now we are not getting into the depth of how do we go and create the tier 0 gateways. We will be learning in our subsequent lectures where we'll be explaining you how do we go and create tier 0 gateways. The next what we have it is a tier 1 gateways. So click on tier 1 gateways, and as you do see that currently on this infrastructure there is no tier 1 gateways have been found, which means that there is no tier 1 gateway has been deployed so far. But as soon as you go and deploy tier 1 gateway, for example, click on tier 1 gateway, give us all the required configuration details. Once you save that, the tier 1 gateway configurations will be populated right here on this dashboard. The next option what we have it from the connectivity section is segment, and segments are nothing. This is called logical networks. So as you do see that as of now, there are three segments have been created on this infrastructure. App ls and web ls, these are logical segments connected to our tier 0 gateway, as you rightly see that. And these segments are actually part of your overlay network, overlay transport zone, as you rightly see it here. So the first section talks about the name of segments. The second section talks about the gateway they are connected to it. The third section talks about are these segments are part of VLAN transport zone or overlay transport zone. And the last segment talks about the subnets, the IP configuration range of their respective segments. For example, if you look at the web ls, so you do see that this is the web ls logical segment. It is connected to tier 0 gateway. It is actually part of overlay transport zone, which is named as overlay TZ, and all the virtual machines which are going to get connected with the web ls are going to have a network 172.16.10.x. Similarly, if you try to see that the app ls, so this is our app ls connected to same tier 0 gateway, also part of overlay transport zone, but the subnet for this particular segment is 172.16.20.x. And most importantly, if you do see that we also have a one segment named as T0 uplink 1. It is not connected to any of the gateway, and this particular segment is actually part of our VLAN transport zone, and there is no subnet has been defined for this particular segment. So that's what our connectivity section is all about it. Now, if you see that on the segments also, we have a couple of options like segment profiles, edge bridge profiles, and metadata proxy. Now, if you click on the segment profiles where you can go and define the profiles like IP discovery, MAC discovery, or maybe a spoof guard kind of profile, you can define it. Edge bridge profile is more about giving the L2 bridge capabilities or enabling L2 bridge capabilities on our edge cluster. That's where we go and create edge bridge profiles. And metadata proxy is more about retrieving metadata from OpenStack Nova API server. So your VMs can actually go and retrieve the metadata information from OpenStack Nova API server. That's what metadata proxy is all about it. So that's what pretty much about our connectivity section. Now let's move on to the next section. What we have it is network services. And within that network services, we do see that there are a bunch of services available like VPN, EVPN, NAT, load balancing, and forwarding policies. So let's go to the VPN. And as you do see that as of now, there is no VPN service has been configured. That's the reason no VPN service is found. Now we do see that there's a section about VPN service, which actually give you the overview of all of the VPN services, what we have configured. Then there is a section very specific to IPsec configurations, L2 VPN, local endpoints, and profiles. So that's where you can navigate to the respective VPN configurations like IPsec, L2 VPN, local endpoints, and profiles. And that's where you will be finding relevant information about VPN specific configurations. The next what we have it is a Evpn tenant. So as you could see that there is no Evpn tenant has been configured so far. That's the reason there is no Evpn tenants information is available. The next what we have is Nat Rule. And as you do see that, that's where we have a gateway. So whatever the Nat Rule, we are going to define it. We need to choose on which gateway I want to create that Nat Rule section. All the Nat specific rules will get populated here. Anyway, we're gonna discuss about all of these services much more in detail in our subsequent lectures, and that's where we'll go and understand how do we go and deal with each of these services. As of now, we are just walking you through and navigating you through a networking dashboard of our NSX Manager UI. The next what we have it is a load balancing, and that's where all the load balancing specific configuration will be present right there in this particular UI. And as you do see that, that's where you have a load balancer, virtual servers, server pool, profiles, and monitors. All this information will be presented right there in the under load balancing section. Now I scroll down a little bit. The next option what we have it is forwarding policies. Now this forwarding policies is very specific to NSX Cloud when we deployed PCG component, and that's where the relevant policies gets populated in this particular dashboard. So this forwarding policies or policy based routing is very specific to NSX Cloud. Let's scroll a little bit. Now the next section what we have it is the IP management. So all the IP management related services fall into this category, and that's where the first what we have it is DNS. So you click on DNS, and that's where you see the DNS services information like DNS services and DNS zones. So whenever we go and configure DNS services, DNS zones, they fall into this particular UI. Then the next what we have it is DHCP. So whenever we go and do the DHCP specific configurations, those configurations will be configured from this particular section of the NSX networking dashboard. The next what we have it is the IP addressing pools. And as you do see that right now there is a one IP address pool has been created successfully, and that IP address pool name is tap pool, and this is used to provide tap IPs for compute nodes or maybe our transport nodes. And that's where you do see that what all the information present there from the IP pool perspective. And there is also option called IP address blocks. So if you want to give a CIDR specific information, you can just give that CIDR block information, and that's where the component which will be getting deployed will be consuming IP from that CIDR block. Now I scroll down a little bit. Then last section what we have it is settings, which is a global network configurations. So click on global networking configurations, and as you do see that gateway interface MTU by default it is not set. So when by default it is not set, which means that it would be having a 1500 MTU configured, and you also have a L3 forwarding mode. If you click on edit, you can change the gateway interface MTU from 1500 to 9000, and you can also change the forwarding mode from IPv4 only to IPv4 and IPv6. The last what we have it is networking profiles, and that's where you can go and define the various networking profiles based on your infrastructure. For example, the first what we have it is a IPv6 specific profile. The next what we have it is gateway QoS specific profiles, which is a quality of service. If you want to commit your traffic, you want to limiting your traffic, configure this QoS profile, and that profile will be applied to the respective components, and all this committed bandwidth and the burst size will come into the picture to limit that traffic consumption. Similarly, we have a multicast profile. So we don't want to, obviously, we don't want to save these changes. So that's okay to navigate away from these changes. The next what we have it is a multicast profile, and the last what we have it is the BFD profile. And BFD, as you know, that it's a bidirectional forwarding detection protocol which actually used to detect forwarding path failures. So if you want to create a BFD profile to detect your forwarding data path failures, just click on add BFD profile and try to give all the required configuration parameters, and that way you can create your BFD profile. And these profile you can attach to the respective components, and these respective components will start honoring the configuration what we have provided in their respective profiles. So this conclude our lecture on navigating you through a networking dashboard of our NSX Manager UI, where we have seen that it gives us a pretty good information about all of our networking specific configuration, like number of tier 1 gateways, segments, tier 0 gateways, and other services like VPN, EVPN, and the DNS zones and IP pools. So we get a pretty good information from this networking overview dashboard. And not only that, it also gives us a very good topology diagram. That's what NSX networking dashboard is all about it. Stay tuned for our next lecture where we are going to walk you through with the other dashboards like security, inventory, planning and troubleshoot, and system dashboard. So stay tuned for our next lecture. We hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.